Hi everyone, welcome to our live experience today. I'm Bria Borcherding, AVP of Partner Alliances at Wellbeats, joining you today from Texas. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to our partner, Launch My Health, as we whip up a new routine together. Our mission at Wellbeats is to provide well-being resources to our members that are accessible and relatable, and sharing the knowledge and skills to make healthy and, in today's case, nourishing choices, and always with a dash of fun. Today, Wellbeats members can enjoy our diverse library of globally inspired cooking recipes, cooking education, and nutrition classes, with the goal of providing a deeper dive into functional nutrition. We now offer an additional nutrition experience that includes 6 Launch My Health goal-based programs. Each program is designed and led by experienced, credentialed nutrition experts focused on healing the body and mind by using food as medicine. These skill-building programs cover topics on gut health, inflammation, hormones, and brain health, along with culinary programs for the entire family, all easily accessed through Wellbeats. Now for the star of today's show, I would like to introduce you to Chef Jeremy Reinecke. Chef Jeremy takes a back-to-basics approach to cooking whole, fresh foods. He has dedicated his career to educating people of all ages and backgrounds on the how to make nutritious and delicious foods. He is the culinary maestro at Launch My Health, aka the Director of Culinary Education, and his background includes chef instructor and site leader at Cooks on Crocus Hill, instructor at Le Cordon Bleu teaching future chefs how to cook, chef at James Beard Award winner Tim McKee's Solera in Minneapolis, chef at Robert Mondavi and Julia Child's Copia in Napa Valley, and most recently, Director of Culinary Education at M Health Fairview. Chef Jeremy passionately believes whatever you eat should taste delicious, and preparing food should be fun and relaxing, and I have to agree with him as well. As a classically trained chef, Jeremy knows the art of cooking, but likes to keep things simple. He loves to teach and celebrate his students' successes, and once you take a class, you will know why he has a fan club. During the cooking portion today, please use the chat feature in Teams to ask Chef any questions and he will respond live. Chef Jeremy loves interaction, so please ask away. Amanda on the launch team will be moderating to share your questions with Chef Jeremy. There will also be time at the end to ask questions related to the Wellbeats and launch services. And we will also send out the recipes that Chef Jeremy will be going through today, as well as a recording of this webinar as a follow-up. So on that note, I'm ready to pass the spatula off to Chef Jeremy to take us on our journey today. Let's go.
Whoa, took a second to get here from Texas. Thank you, Bria. I've actually been looking for this, so this is fantastic. Thank you all for joining me today, you guys. We really appreciate your time today, and we're going to make this fun and delicious and nutritious and everything that you really want when it comes to cooking in your kitchen. As Bria mentioned, for better than a decade now, I've been helping both professional chefs, home cooks, and novices that really just want to get better at cooking whole, fresh foods, make it a little bit more quick, make it delicious, easy, and safe. All of those things can happen in your kitchen. So today, you guys, we're going to focus on some skill building. That's kind of the foundation of everything that we do. And our thread is going to be speeding things up. So making planning and prepping a little bit easier for you. At the end of the day, couldn't we all use a little bit more time? And so that's going to be our focus. Today, we're going to make roasted salmon salad with a pineapple pico de gallo. And then we're going to take that pineapple pico de gallo and we're going to use it multiple ways. I always do this in my kitchen. I would say just about every single time. I almost never start from zero or start from scratch. And that is one of the biggest time savers that I can share with you. In a restaurant, you guys, none of them would be around if we threw away all of the leftovers at the end of the day. So we're going to repurpose that pineapple pico de gallo, and we're going to make our second meal, which is our chicken tacos with cabbage, radish, and that pineapple salsa. And this one, the second one, I actually learned traveling Mexico. You're going to love how easy this thing is. And this is exactly how they do it in Mexico. So without any further ado, oh, I should also mention, please don't forget, use that chat feature, you guys. Amanda is moderating today, and she's going to throw any good questions that you have at me, and then we're going to discuss them right here live in real time. So we're going to get started on the roasted salmon salad. So we're going to start off by preparing that pineapple salsa. This, of course, is our beautiful pineapple. Who doesn't love these things? It's like nature's candy, right? But how on earth do I know which one to pick or which one is optimal? The first thing that I always do, and this might sound a little silly, you may have seen people do it in the supermarket, is smell it. Right at the end down here, give it a smell. All fruits will kind of give off a little bit of their nectar when they're reaching that optimal ripeness. One other thing for pineapple, of course, is you can grab on to the upper fronds here and they should pull out relatively easy, okay? Because color can be a little bit of a difficult differentiator as far as ripeness goes. Use those clues. Just give it a little tug, and then of course give it a little smell. So we're going to start off with this guy, and if you're intimidated by the pineapple, of course you can buy these already prepped if you want. But I would love for you to work on those knife skills, because that's really where it starts. Every chef has a foundation of knife skills, and so we're going to trim off the bottom. Just like so. We're going to spin it around. Oh my gosh. Now I can smell it. Now it smells amazing. We're going to spin it over and we're going to trim off the top. And this can even be used on a platter. If you're doing a plate or platter, you may have seen this on buffets, but we don't have a use for it today, so that's going to go away. We're going to stand this pineapple up on one of its flat sides, and now we're going to trim around it, just like this. Turn it, and we'll trim around one more time. And I'm following the curvature of that pineapple with my knife, just like this. Some people struggle with this step. I'll share with you because we want to minimize our waste, right? But we do want to make sure that we take off enough to capture all the little brown kind of crusty parts in there. So we'll peel all the way around there. Beautiful. And these guys can go away. All right, now we do have to deal with the central core now, right? And that's going to be right in the middle. And so what we're going to do is, while still standing on its flat side, we're going to cut right down the center, and then we're going to lay it down and cut it one more time right through the middle, just like this. So now I'm going to turn them so the cut side is facing my knife with my blade at a slight angle towards the middle. I'm going to just trim out that little wedge of core. And we're going to do that to each quarter. Here we go. Pineapple, of course, we love not just because it's absolutely delicious, but it also contains something called bromelain, right? Which we know can help with digestive issues and can be a really powerful antioxidant as well. All right, we've got our 4 quarters. All the outside is gone. We've got our little kind of crusty wedge gone. I'll mention too, you guys, these things can be great treats for the kiddos. They're really fibrous, but absolutely delicious. You could even freeze these, make little kind of popsicles out of them. And now I'm going to take our pineapple and we're going to cut it just straight down the long way, just like this. All right, so we've got these kind of planks. I'm going to fan out the planks and we're going to cut them right straight through this way to create these nice little sticks of pineapple. If you're not a fan of pineapple, of course, you can swap out the pineapple for maybe something like mango, maybe papaya. I always encourage folks to make our recipes your own, right? Take notes, try them a little bit differently, swap out an ingredient for something that's a little bit more affordable or a little bit more easy for you to find. Always, always encourage that. Now we're going to dice these guys, cut them into nice little cubes. Just like this. Whenever I'm using my knife as well, you guys, as much as possible, I'm going to be doing the slice. So down and forward as opposed to the chop. Whenever we're slicing, we're engaging that blade and making the blade work for us. The chop requires a little bit more work from us. All right, we're going to continue on now with the rest of our pineapple here. You really want to reach about a couple cups of pineapple. And with these 3/4, we will be there. Whenever you're doing prep, it's always my goal to make the size pieces as similar as possible to one another. And that, of course, is going to make them cook at a similar rate. The mouthfeel is going to be similar, as opposed to having giant chunks of pineapple mixed in with teeny tiny little dices of other things, right? So we're going to turn these guys. You can keep them piled together. This is a pico de gallo, and a pico de gallo, of course, is very simply, basically, it's an uncooked salsa. So it has a little bit more texture to it. It maybe some people will describe it as a little bit fresher, kind of, but absolutely delicious. Adding fruit to a traditional pico, as we did or are doing here today, can be a way to really kind of spruce it up as well. Now we're going to add this to our bowl. I'm not going to take all day scooping it over. Check this out. My bowl is going to go right beneath my surface, and I can just scoop it right in. Yep, another time saver. Okay, we've got our pineapple in the bowl. Next up, we have our sweet Vidalia onion, which is of course a sweet variety of onion. You can use any one here as well. That's going to go right in there. Nice small dice. If you hate cutting onions, which I know a lot of you struggle with, we do of course go over that in our Home Chef Pro series, along with how to dice a tomato as well, if you're interested in those skills, which everyone can use, right? We're going to add our cilantro. And just look at the bright, beautiful colors we have in here already. Okay, now we're going to give it a nice pinch of salt. When you are cooking whole fresh foods at home, you're in charge, of course. You can add as much or as little salt as you need. When we're working with a constant flow of convenience foods, you're not in charge of that, right? Some dude in a factory is in charge of how much salt goes in your food. So we're just going to give this a nice toss. Yeah, oh my gosh. This is a party in a bowl, and it looks like we have a question coming in here, Amanda.
Yes, what if you're someone who does not like cilantro?
Oh, wonderful question. If you are one of those people that doesn't like cilantro, and I know there are a lot of you out there, you can absolutely either cut it down, use less, eliminate it altogether, or I'll oftentimes substitute a very simple parsley for that. It's going to bring a little bit of citrusy essence to it, which is really, really lovely. For our serrano, we're going to take it in half, or we're going to trim the ends. Then we're going to take it in half the long way, just like that. We're going to grab a little spoon, and we just scrape out those seeds. Unless you're one of those spicy people, right? And you love the heat, you need the heat, go ahead and leave those seeds in there. You'll always have that option as well. You can very easily control the amount of heat that you're adding to your dish. All right. Another question.
Is there a reason why you're not using jalapeno, or why do you choose a serrano pepper?
Yeah, jalapeno versus serrano. That's another great question. I always use serranos. If I run across a recipe or I want to make a recipe that asks for jalapenos, I always substitute them. The jalapenos that I generally tend to find here, the heat level can be really, really hot, like burn your face off hot, or it can be next to nothing. It's really hard to predict how much heat a jalapeno can bring. A serrano is going to be very close to the same amount of heat, and it's very consistent. It's much more reliable. So I know, or I'm going to know, generally speaking, how much heat I'm bringing by how much serrano I add. The jalapeno can be really hit or miss. Great question. So for our serrano, we're going to go ahead and lay it the long way, and I'm going to cut it as thin as I can, the long way, into these beautiful thin little strips. Okay, and I always say as thin as you can. I've been doing this for 100 years. No kidding, but a while now, right? And so I'm able to get it pretty thin. I always want you, whatever you're doing in the kitchen, safety is number one, right? Nobody wants to come out from making dinner with an injury, right? So I always say get it as small as you comfortably can. We're going to turn those little slices of serrano here, or jalapeno. You could use jalapeno. And we're going to slice it the long way now, as thin as we comfortably can. We're shooting for somewhere around a fancy French term coming at you, brunoise. Have you ever heard of a brunoise or brunoise? We're shooting for about 1/8 of an inch cube. So get it nice and small. That's going to go right in to our pico de gallo as well. Beautiful. We've got a couple of limes here, so we're going to cut it in half. Just like that. I'm going to use this wonderful juicer. If you don't have one of these, I would recommend getting one. I always use fresh citrus. Fresh citrus is a great way to get a punch of flavor into your dish without adding any additional salt or sugar. So we're going to go cut side down into this guy, and then we're going to give it a nice squeeze. And I always say fresh citrus as well, as opposed to, you know, the stuff that comes in the little plastic lemony, limey looking things. That stuff just isn't nearly as good as fresh citrus. And you can see how easy it is to use your fresh citrus. Another nice thing about it is before it's cut, citrus lasts a long time. Throw that in your refrigerator and you can honestly have a nice piece of fresh citrus hanging around for, you know, a week or better. All right, let's give this a little toss. Beautiful, those aromas are starting to explode. We're gonna do a little pinch of salt in there. All right, and we're gonna give it a taste. Lesson number 2 for today, right? Taste as you go, incredibly important. I would never serve anything to anyone that I didn't know how it tasted, right? So get in there, give it a little taste. That might be kind of why I became a chef as well. Love tasting food. So get a little taste. I'm tasting for all of the things that I know are in there, right? I want to taste the fruit. I want to taste the Vidalia onion. I want to taste the cilantro. I want to taste everything I know. I want to taste the lime, right? If you don't, always feel free to make a little adjustment. Okay? If you need a little bit more lime, go for it. Question?
Different types of salts for different meals.
Great question. Different types of salts for different meals. I would say a little bit. All right, kosher salt is my workhorse. That's the one where I'm seasoning a steak, seasoning a burger, whatever it might be, right? Kosher salt. It's bigger crystals, has jagged edges. I can see where it's going. It stays where it's going because of those jagged edges. And so really great workhorse. I don't switch back and forth because, like, for example, the iodized or the really fine grind is a very different thing. Food reacts very differently to those different types of salt. So choose one you like and stick with it, I say, right? But I am a little bit of a salt nerd, okay? So I do have, you know, I would say maybe a dozen or so. I've got the smoked sea salt. I do have one with rose petals in it, right? And so, but those are finishing salts. I would never season pasta water, say, with one of those refined salts, okay? That's just gonna be a tiny little sprinkle on the top of your completed dish. The workhorse, for me, is gonna be the kosher salt. Great question. So we're gonna go with about somewhere 1/3 or 1/2 of our pico de gallo right into our blender. The pico de gallo here too, you guys will keep for several days. So don't feel like, oh gosh, I have to use this all or throw it. Certainly don't throw it. All right, we've got it in our blender or food processor, will work just fine. To that, we're gonna add our oil here. We're gonna add a little bit of white wine vinegar. And we're gonna go right onto that blender with the top, and we're gonna give it a little spin. And we've really just made a vinaigrette or a marinade, okay, out of our pico. All right, we didn't start over. We use this as a foundation to make this, oh my gosh, absolutely delicious marinade, vinaigrette. You could certainly use it on salad. We're gonna use it on salad today. Get in there, give it a taste though again. And I'm gonna adjust my salt just a little bit. Always feel free, again, to make these little adjustments. We're gonna spin it one more time. And there we go. All right, you guys, so to our salmon, we have some lovely salmon fillets right here. we're going to go ahead and spoon on. And if I could get my greens out of the refrigerator here, that would be much appreciated. I'm just going to spoon on a nice scoop right over the top. Look at that, beautiful. Okay. Now, once you have it all on, then you can go down and give it a brush on there if you want to. Fantastic, look at this. All right, now if you have the time, please do go ahead and set this aside in your refrigerator for maybe 30 minutes and let that really kind of penetrate. But if time is of the essence, it's still going to be delicious. We're going to fire this guy right into our oven at about 375, maybe even 400 if you like that kind of caramelization that you're going to get on top. Fantastic. All right.
Another question.
Yes.
How should we store the leftovers for the vinaigrette and then the pico de gallo?
Yeah, so your leftovers, you're just going to want to basically store in an airtight container. Keep as much air off as possible. So I would use maybe a glass. Glass is going to be ideal, though, I do have to say. If you use plastic with an acidic thing like a vinaigrette, it can actually leach off particles from that plastic and it can start to taste plasticky, right? And so I always like to use glass or stainless steel. Both of those materials are non-reactive and your acidic product won't leach off of them. And then keep it airtight, right? You don't want it to spill, but also air expedites kind of the breakdown of food. So you want to keep as much air off of it as possible. Fantastic question. Okay, our pico is ready. Our greens are here. This guy's cooking. We're actually moving on to dish number 2, our chicken tacos with cabbage, radish, and that pineapple salsa. So I have my saute pan right here. To my saute pan, I'm going to add some of this pico. So we're going to add maybe about half of it. Here again, we're using the pico for the 3rd time, right? And we're going to get it in there. Just like this. All right, and we're going to cook this down. It can be that simple. Cook down your pico and you've got a really nice, simple pineapple salsa. We're going to heat up a little. We're just going to bring this up to a simmer. I really want to cook it for long enough that it becomes a little bit soft, but you can cook it until it just starts to fall apart. Or you can also take a stick blender and puree it right in the pan. If you like a nice, almost creamy, smooth salsa, you can do that. And you're in charge of that at home. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and put together that chicken. This is the one that I learned in Mexico. This is exactly how I was taught by a native friend of mine. We've got our chicken just kind of cubed up. And we've got our goodies here. Again, you're going to love how simple and easy this thing is. Chicken going into the pan. All right, we're going to add our onion, super simple, trim both ends. Take it in half. Okay. That's when you peel it. If you try to peel an onion when it's whole, once you kind of want to pull your hair out sometimes, I know I do, take it in half. You've got all of these fantastic edges to grab onto, and it peels so simple. Now we're just going to take it basically into quarters. We're done prepping that onion. It goes right in there with the chicken. For our tomato, we're going to just kind of remove this stem, and I'm just going in at an angle. And I'm kind of dancing around that stem. The stem is just going to be a little bit woody and chewy, so we're going to remove that guy. Very simply here too. We're just going to quarter it. If it's a big tomato like this guy is, I might take it down a little bit smaller, but that's all the prep you need to do. Okay, tomato in the pan. Boom, boom, boom. One more serrano. Yes, serrano. I'm just going to trim the ends. And feeling some heat in this one, so let's leave the seeds in there, right into the pan. About a tablespoon of salt is going in here. Now, if that sounds like a lot, that's basically because we are poaching this shrimp. We're not necessarily going to consume all of the liquid, but in order to get the correct amount of flavor boosting salt in the food itself, we kind of overshoot the sodium a little bit. But again, right, you're in charge. When you're at home, you want to use a little bit less, go for it. Yes.
Question, couldn't we use the mix from the blender from the first recipe instead of cooking down the pico?
You certainly could. Could you use the basically the vinaigrette here. But also remember here, we added that vinegar and the oil, so it's a little bit different. Plus, the act of actually cooking it or applying heat is different than simply pureeing it. Okay, so it is changing it a little bit more. But could you use this? Absolutely, you could. Your end result just might be a little bit different. Super question though. This is great. Yes, another one.
How would you make this dish vegetarian?
How would I make this dish here vegetarian? Whatever your meat substitute is, I would say whatever your go-to is. You know, if you're a vegetarian, you kind of usually have that kind of arsenal of what you use. You could, you know, you could use the durian fruit. You could use mango, I think. There's a lot of different kind of natural substitutes out there that you can use, as well as some sort of convenience products. We don't like to lean on convenience products too much, but there are some meat substitute convenience products out there that you could use as well. Now we're going to add our water, and I'm just going to add basically enough water to kind of cover everything that's in here. We're going to move this around a little, tuck everything down in that water, just like this. All right, so you can see what we've got here. You saw how simple and easy this was to put together. We're going to hand this off here. This is going to go ahead and we're going to bring that up to a nice gentle simmer, uncovered, because if there's any excess water in there, I want that water to be able to kind of cook off in the form of steam, intensifying the flavor that's there. Right? So we're going to cook this for 30 minutes, 45 minutes maybe, until it becomes nice and soft. The vegetables are going to almost melt into the sauce, and the chicken is going to become nice and tender, and you're going to love how we pull this chicken because it's a pulled chicken taco. All right, so next up we have our garnishes, which are going to be our purple cabbage. So we're getting a nice nutrient dense vegetable here that's loaded with fiber as well. We've got our purple cabbage that's just sliced nice and thinly, super easy to do. We've got our radish. Here again, we're getting a different vegetable, right? A different color. So we know we're getting a different phytonutrient every time we see a different color. And that's where I recommend people go first. When we first start thinking about improving our diet, it's easy. Everyone can do it. A child can do it, right? Look for bright, colorful fruits and vegetables and get more of those in our diet. Even if it's one extra a week, that's a win, okay? We've got our cilantro here. Cilantro is actually the leaf of the coriander plant. So if you've ever heard of the spice called coriander, coriander is the seed of cilantro. All right, sometimes you'll even hear in some certain ethnic recipes, they'll call it coriander leaf. Well, that is the same as cilantro. And we happen to have cumin and coriander here, so it makes sense. They go together, they're of the same plant. It will sort of round out and bring these flavors together really, really nicely. What I don't want to do is take this beautiful little cilantro leaf or cilantro plant here and pluck off every little leaf, okay? I know it might be blowing some minds right now. Your time is way too valuable for that. The upper stem of cilantro is very, very tender and loaded with flavor, just like the leaves, right? So basically, I just twist off the lower parts of the stem, and all of this upper stem and leafy part is good product. So you're maximizing, you're saving time, right? You're maximizing on products, you're throwing away less. It's just a good thing to do. Now, in order to chop this, I'm not just going to get in here and start chopping, okay? We're going to go ahead and we're going to roll this up into a neat little bundle. And then the blossom end here, I'm going to just kind of fold over and we're going to roll one more time. Now gently, of course, I have it in this neat little package right now, and that's going to help me cut it more consistently, okay? But I'm not getting in here and grinding it because I don't want to break these leaves necessarily. It's still a little leafy thing and it's a little bit delicate. Now we're going to slice. They call it chopping herbs, but if you can slice, again, that down and forward motion, like this, that's a win. Down and forward, you're going to get less crushing. Even with an extremely sharp knife, if you go straight up and down, you're going to get a little bit of crushing. So slice right through here as we're managing and maintaining that little bundle of herb. And you can see already we have a really consistently cut herb. I like a rustic chop on an herb or a rustic cut on an herb. So I don't mind that they are bigger pieces. In fact, I like to see, oh, I can identify that's a cilantro leaf, right? You can also treat other tender herbs the same way. Parsley is a great example. If you chop parsley, For a garnish or for whatever, you can do it exactly the same way. Just remove the lower stems. Parsley is also a great substitute for the cilantro. We're going to run through one more time here real quickly, just to make it a little bit smaller.
Rosanna wants to know if you need any other tasters to help you today.
I do. How soon can you get here? Thank you for offering, Rosanna. Absolutely. More tasters, the better. All right, so our cilantro is prepped. Next up, I'm going to show you how to cut some limes. This might seem really simple, but there is a sort of a better way to do it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the ends. I'm going to square them off. Spin it over, square it off. Even this is fine. I don't even need to get into the fruit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut right through the middle, turn it, and right through the middle again. Okay, and now just like we did that pineapple, right? This trick works good for multiple different fruits and vegetables, right? Turn it, and because we've got this little membrane in here, if I juice this right now, it's going to go this way and that way, everywhere but where I want it to go. But if we remove that little membrane, it's going to juice much easier and right where I want it. So again, at that angle. Beautiful. And then I'm just going to take each one of these guys into slightly smaller pieces here. Who's got the timer on the salmon out there? Are you guys helping me remember it? It's all right. I'll remember it. All right. So we've got our garnishes, our limes, we've got our cilantro here, we've got our cabbage, we've got our radishes. Finally, you guys, we're going to give a little toast to our tortillas. Very traditional, or much more traditional, I should say, are corn tortillas when it comes to Mexican cuisine, as opposed to the flour, right? And also, you don't have to worry about the gluten, which is a hot button for a lot of people. And I've heard some folks don't like the corn tortilla because it can be kind of crumbly, a little bit stiff. If you heat them up, right? Heat them up on a little grill plate right back here for just a few seconds. They take on a little bit of caramelization and they get really nice and tender and soft. While we're toasting these, let's check in on our salsa back here. It has come up to a nice simmer. You can see the steam coming off. Wow, smells amazing. Things have begun to kind of soften up here. I just want to give it a little stir and we're going to go right back on that heat. All right. The tortilla is toasting really nicely. I'm just kind of cranking my heat up. If you don't have it, or if you don't want to use your outdoor grill just to toast some tortillas, you certainly can use a grill plate like I have back here. You could also just use a saute pan. Honestly, I've done it in a saute pan as well. Really, the most important thing is that we're getting it nice and toasty. All right, looks good. One or two flips. And then I take my tortilla and I just place it right there. The next one's going to go right on top. And traditionally, they'll be wrapped in like a towel, a clean kitchen towel. Wrap them like that to keep them nice and toasty. And that's kind of how we manage those. Again, should only take just a few seconds, as long of course as you have preheated your surface, your grill plate, or your saute pan. All right, while that's finishing up, we're going to grab our chicken back here. We did use the magic of television. No, I didn't magically cook it in 6 minutes. But you're going to love this trick. Ready? It is ready to kind of pull apart, and the onion, the tomato have become super soft. And so I'm going to take and I'm going to strain off some of this poaching liquid. Good idea as well to save it. Do that. And then I can add it back if I accidentally get it too dry. But most times you're going to have a little bit of this poaching liquid to pour off. It is absolutely delicious. Use this in place of like a chicken stock, okay? Just sip it like a bone broth, all right? Absolutely delicious and really, really healing as well. Potato masher, love this thing. Anytime I make a pulled anything, I use the potato masher. All right, tortilla's ready. I just get in here and I give it a twist as I move down. It is pureeing the vegetables, right? The onion, the tomato, the serrano are all becoming basically pureed and part of the sauce. And it's shredding that chicken. Super delicious. And it's easy, right? I don't know the last time you made like a pulled pork with the two forks, right? Spent half a day doing that. Your time is way too valuable. You gotta use these time-saving tricks. All right, and very quickly, as you can see, in minutes, we have just a really lovely pulled chicken taco meat. It's ready to rock and roll. All right, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our cumin and our coriander. Work that in. And we're gonna add a bunch of our cilantro. I might save some of that again for my garnish, but I want to get some of it in there.
We have a comment. I don't even have a potato masher. Adding to cart.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, potato masher is one of those things that I think probably I would say most kitchens should have. Can be used for many, many different things. And again, especially if it, I can use it for something other than mashing a potato. Yes, you certainly can. All right, you guys, there is our pulled chicken meat or our taco. And then what's the next step? You got it. Taste it. Absolutely. Got to see where we're at with our salt. I might want to add a little bit of lime to it. You certainly can do that. Oh my gosh. Absolutely perfect. Just the way that it is. Let's peek in at our salsa. Give that another little stir. Things are starting to get nice and soft. Again, you can serve this, in its chunky state, or you can go ahead and puree it. Totally up to you. Also, again, I'll mention, you notice the steam coming off of here. Water cooks away in the form of steam. Nothing else does. Okay. All the flavor, everything we put in here is staying in the pan. The water's cooking away, making what's left smaller, therefore intensifying the flavor. So if you like big, bold flavors, reduction, that's the technique that's actually happening here. We're reducing its overall volume and intensifying the flavors again, without adding in any additional salt or sugar or anything else. It's just a natural cooking process. That guy back on there for just a couple of minutes. And time to check on our salmon. Oh my goodness. You guys, look at this. Absolutely delicious. We've got some nice caramelized crunchies around there. The aromas are exploding. And to check your salmon, all I do, is open it up. You can certainly, with an internal probe thermometer, look for 145 degrees. It's a little bit difficult the smaller something becomes to get an accurate temperature. So for something like fish, I just open it up in the thickest, fattest part, just kind of gently break it open. And raw fish does not flake, okay? It wants to stay together. Cooked fish flakes easily, and I can see inside, okay? So that's how I check it. If it flakes easily and is no longer that bright red color, you're good to go. All right, one more thing for this dish. Really quickly, we have to dress our greens. I always like to dress our greens. So we're going to take that vinaigrette that we made, and we're going to pour some onto our greens here. Super. I would say pour lightly. I can always add more. I never want so much that I have a pool in the bottom of my bowl. We're just going to lift it and fold it. And I like doing it this way for really all salads, dressing those greens, as opposed to plating the greens and, just kind of drizzling it on top. Then every bite tastes a little bit different. One bite might be overdressed while the other one is underdressed, kind of a thing. So if I can, I always like to dress those greens. Add just enough to lightly coat so that all of our greens are glistening. Give it a little taste. Adjust if you need to. This one is right on, and it's time to plate. You ready? Grab your plate. I love white plates. Let's the food be the star of the show, not the frilly little colors on the plate itself. We're gonna grab our greens, plate those guys, just like so. I always try to get a little bit of height when I am plating my greens, if I can. To the top of that, we're going to add one of our pieces of fish here. Beautiful. Just kind of right off to the side, maybe, something like that. And we're going to finish this guy off with a nice scoop of our pico de gallo, which is what we started with. You can go on the side, you can go right on top of that salmon, you can go right on top of everything with it if you want. You're gonna want a bite of that on everything. There we go, just like that. And there we have our first meal, our roasted salmon salad with pineapple pico de gallo. If you want to make this guy a little bit more robust, you could get some more carbohydrates in here. You could get some legumes on here, maybe some chickpeas, more vegetables. Really engage your creative freedom on this guy, or eat it just the way that it is. You've got nice lean protein, healthy fat from that salmon, the omega-3s. It's all good stuff. Dish number one. Next up, the chicken tacos with cabbage, radish, and pineapple salsa. Plate number two, we have our salsa back here, which is, oh my gosh, yes, looking amazing, getting nice and soft. We have our two tortillas, which I just plate just like this. I put them together so that they kind of merge up in the middle, like so. We're gonna grab our chicken. Look at this, just stunning. I'm gonna put a nice spoon of chicken on each side. Yum, and we've almost made 2 meals in just a matter of minutes, basically, right? To this guy, we're gonna go ahead, we might put a lime or 2 or 3 on the side. We've got our purple cabbage here. I'm gonna put a bit on there. Yeah, oh my goodness, the colors, right? The colors. A pinch of our radish on each one. Okay, a scoop of our salsa. Oh yeah. On each one. Perhaps a sprinkle of that reserved cilantro. And I'm telling you what, does it get any better than this? Check it out, right? There we go. In minutes, right? We've made 2 meals. So ideally here, I would make that roasted salmon day 1, day 2 or 3. I would move that reserved pineapple pico into something like this. So questions, you guys, fire them away at me. Let me know what you're thinking. Any questions I can answer for you?
How would you describe the 2 classes that are on the Wellbeats platform, Home Chef Pro and Kids in the Kitchen?
How would I describe them? Remarkable. No, of course I am. So Home Chef Pro, you guys, is an 8-part series. We dive deeply into, I would say, techniques, tips, tricks, really much like this, that help you understand ways to get in and out of the kitchen faster, help you improve your skills, make you a safer cook, helps you really understand some of the theory, some of the cooking techniques. We talk about how to best source products. We cover a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, if I were a young aspiring chef wanting to get into the restaurant business, I would start with something like this, right? So that I can kind of get my feet wet and move into the industry with some foundational skills. Now, Kids in the Kitchen, of course, the goal of that is to get kids working in the kitchen, big chefs and little chefs together, working side by side to help sort of foster that love and that passion for healing whole, fresh foods. You know what they used to call healthy food like decades ago, right? Generations ago? Well, they called it food, right? Because we didn't have all these convenience things. We didn't have all these excuses to not be focusing on healthy foods. So the earlier we start helping our little ones grow those skills, the easier it's going to be for them. We know they're little sponges at that age, right? And so that's how I guess I would describe them.
Awesome. And about these recipes, how many people can these 2 recipes feed?
Yep, so they each feed 6 people. They each feed 6 people, definitely. And you will as well, you'll get these recipes emailed out to you. Yep. Any last minute questions? Okay, you guys, thank you again so much for being here. I had a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next cooking in your kitchen. Passing it back to Bria.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chef Jeremy. And thank you all for taking some time to connect with us today. I hope you enjoyed our cooking experience. I certainly learned a couple of tips myself that I'll be putting into practice, and just appreciate spending some time with Wellbeats and our partner, Launch My Health. If you do have additional questions about the recipes or topics that Chef Jeremy covered today, or you would like to learn more about Wellbeats and Launch My Health, please connect with us at partners@wellbeats.com. I know some of you, as you registered, also asked some questions which were fantastic, so we will follow up with you individually to make sure that we answer any questions that you may have. Thanks again and have a wonderful rest of your day.